Hello and welcome to the recap of day 4 in the Ashley Benefield trial. This is a day that I can see in my comments probably should have come with a warning because it got really triggering for some people, but we'll return to that in a bit. First off, we had her divorce lawyer, custody battle lawyer, take the stand. She was there to repudiate what lawyer Murphy said about, well, Ashley did this because they had that report coming out in a hearing 3 days after that she wanted to keep secret, which to me didn't make sense when she said it on the stand because that report would be open anyway. It's not like it just magically goes away if Doc isn't here anymore. So they say she chose to do what she did because she wanted to keep a report secret, but this lawyer then comes on and says, I had no understanding that was going on that day. I had no belief that we were discussing that report. It was said to be released around that meeting, but it wasn't a part of the meeting. We only had one topic, and it's clear as day that it had nothing to do with that meeting. So that kind of takes out what I think was the state's motive, that Ashley had that report coming, so she chose to take Doc's life to keep that report secret. Is that what you're going to sell to the jury now that you have two lawyers saying opposite sides? And does it make sense in a reasonable mind that, well, I'm so afraid of the findings in a report, which we know from the guy who did it wasn't that damning. What was in that report was Doc really want to have a relationship again. Ashley was kind of stringing him along, saying, yeah, let's see. And then telling him behind closed doors, no, I have no wish for a new relationship. I don't get that that's the thing the state is going with. They mentioned she wanted to be an alone mom in the opening statement and then never touched upon it during their case in chief. So, what do they close this case with? That she was afraid of a report that would have been public anyway and which wasn't to be discussed at a meeting, or that she wanted to be an alone mom, even though we then have Google searches. I should probably have gone into that before. Google searches 6 months before where she said how to co-parent with an abusive ex. The state is really not selling it to me. But the part that probably would be triggering to a lot of people was Ashley took the stand. And let's just be honest, a lot of people felt one way, a lot of people felt the other way. I personally found her believable. I uh, I found that she was going back into her memories. She was crying, she was shaking, then she was calm, then she was crying again. To me, it didn't seem like it was a show put on. It felt to me like she was reliving bad days because when it wasn't directly connected to the incident, there was periods where she was just talking normally, and to me, I think if she were acting, you would try and do the emotion the entire time. Just remember AH and my dog stepped on a bee. That how would you say it? The emotions matched what I would expect the emotions to be in the answers she was given. But I understand some people didn't see it that way. Some people, I get a lot of flag from both sides because she's clearly guilty, she's clearly innocent, and you don't see it, and you're a misogynist. To me, she came off believable. That's all I can say. Believing her is an emotion. I can't describe how my emotions work, but when I saw her, I felt she had some trauma. But I have to say, I think it was a mistake by the defense to put her on at that time. I would have had her on as the last person, especially when we get to what the state did to her. I think it would have been really good to have her on as the last person because she was believable. Normally, if you have a bit of a shady person that testifies, you probably want to have them on first and then put in two, three experts or other witnesses to testify that about something else so the jury forgets how they did understand. This time, especially the way the cross handled her, the defense lawyer should have her on just before closing arguments because the state, oh my God, did they blow it, in my opinion. The prosecutor attacked her relentlessly, constant berating her. She did. She minimized. Well, it was just a punch. Well, could you just? He wasn't that bad. And again, it has nothing to do if he had been beating her for a year or he just beat her one time that night. Because this case comes down to, do you believe in the moment she did this, she was in fear of her life? It's not if she was afraid of her life a year before. They brought in wedding photographs where she was smiling with her friends at a wedding reception because that shows the state of mind she had on the night. No, it doesn't. If you have anyone in your life who been in an abusive relationship, men or women, they will play it up for the cameras. They will hide it for their family because of shame. They will go out there and say, well, everything's great because they have to cope with it. The man I loved, the woman I loved is doing this to me. So I have to, in my head, say, well, it's probably a phase. It's probably good. I might have done something wrong. I'm going to put on a show today and show everyone how perfect it is. You got to be kidding me that you take her wedding photos and says, well, that's why weren't you smiling the night he did this to you? That was such a BS move. It was shady as something. And I think, have you ended with that? The jury would really remember it in the jury room when they have to deliberate. They also had her come down and try and act out the way she said Doug attacked her. And she totally broke down in front of the jury. Again, had that been the last thing the jury had seen before the state would have to do their closing arguments, I think you could dial up the not guilty meter a lot, especially if anyone in the jury have had anything to do with the abuse, because they just re-abused her in court. I think the state helped her again. I don't think the state have proven their case. I think the state, by doing what they did to her, make her seem more credible as a witness. Totally understand some people see it the other way, but I this is my opinion. I think the state helped her look more like a victim of DV. Sadly, the defense didn't use it in the right order, in my opinion. After Ashley's time on the stand, we spent 2 hours, maybe even three, doing a Dorbert hearing on an expert that I'm not even sure are going to be let in and say what they want him to say because the defense didn't claim DV as why she chose to do what she did. So and that's that guy. He was an expert former police officer, teach people about DV, and he's one of those people who just can't shut up. He just kept rambling and rambling and rambling. And if he's going to do that in front of the jury, I think they'll lose some. They will. He will disconnect with the jury. He's a really, really bad. Unless he can clean it up, cut it way down. If he's allowed to testify, and if he's allowed to testify about the parts that the defense wanted, he needs to really get it down to bite size. He kept talking and he used weird. It was kind of like listening to me. It was long. It was winded. He tried to speak about stuff and it didn't make sense, and he flipped all over the place. I think it's a big mistake that defense want to put in guys like that after a very strong, don't take it the wrong way, performance, very strong testimony from Ashley, where she, in my opinion, came off as very believable because I think the emotions matched the story. It didn't feel like she was sitting there thinking, oh my God, it's been 5 minutes, I better cry. There was ups, downs, the emotional roller coaster was there. So I found her believable. I just think that defense made a wrong choice. The state did a really wrong choice when they chose to attack her that hard on the stand. I think the defense made a mistake not ending with her on the stand. But day 5 will be today, and hopefully I think we'll be done today. Maybe even get closing arguments today, because the defense experts, they will fight over it. We might end up having a day at sidebars again, but I really hope that we can be done with this. And I don't think I understand why the state press charges with the motive they have, but we have to wait for closing to see how they are gonna round this up. And for Ashley's sake, her defense lawyer better have been home studying all weekend, because he seemed really frazzled in the end of the hearing Friday. But we'll see today.